Well, Bob's done threatening political press secretaries, and now he's happy that there's slight improvement in the unemployment numbers for last week. 12,000 fewer people filed for unemployment benefits. But here's the new problem we're seeing: unemployment discrimination. Some employers won't hire applicants that aren't currently employed, making the job search that much harder. So now some lawmakers are introducing a bill that would make this kind of discrimination illegal, and President Obama is all for it.
I know there's legislation that I'm supportive of that says you cannot discriminate against folks because they've been unemployed, particularly when you've seen so many folks who, through no fault of their own, ended up being laid off because of the difficulties of this recession.
All right, so we actually have examples of some of these ads. Let's take a look. They're actually saying in some of the ads, don't apply. If you're unemployed, you're not welcome to work here. But Greg, isn't it true that every time an employer makes a decision of hiring one person over the other, you could argue that that's discrimination?
I think so, and I think it's wrong to discriminate against someone who's unemployed. But I think the reason why this is happening is this practice predates this massive unemployment problem. When you would have a hiring agency, the hiring agency is instructed to find full-time workers because there are a lot of people that work part-time who sometimes aren't working, and they look at it as serial temp work. So somebody might work and then take time off, and a company might not want that, so they're looking for a full-time worker. Having said that, that was before we had nearly 10% unemployment. That practice has to go away, and you have to start looking at people differently because there are really hard workers who are unemployed now, not just like part-timers.
If you don't want to hire them, okay, all right, your personal decision. I don't think there should necessarily be a law, but it seems really stupid.
Yeah.
And it also, because I would think that an unemployed person might be even more motivated to make sure that they do a really good job. But also, why would you ever put that in an ad?
Exactly right.
Yeah. There ought to be a law.
I think that's what I'm saying, though. They didn't realize that they were doing something wrong because they've always done it.
If they didn't realize they were doing something wrong, they're dumber than I thought. Look, what you're talking about is don't hire people unemployed because they were pedophiles or just out of the prison. These people, this is the worst case of discrimination I think I've seen since the old days when they said Irish need not apply. I mean, the idea that these people would can somebody because they haven't been working when it's not their fault is cruel, unusual
I'm trying to explain
punishment.
to you. I'm trying to explain to you that this was a practice that had to do with looking for full-timers. It had nothing to do with discriminating against unemployed.
But Eric, isn't that the point? Let the businesses decide, and if they're going to be dumb enough to actually hire someone who might be a genius, or not hire someone who's a genius,
what's wrong with wanting to,
that's their loss.
being able or wanting to pick who you want to employ? I mean, Bob, it's very relevant. Someone who's fully employed has a tendency to be on time for work.
Bob, I think it's
a full week.
I think it's a mistake. I think it's a mistake to do it. I'm just saying they're not doing it out of malice.
If they allowed people to come and apply for those jobs, I would bet you among the unemployed pool they would find better people than those who are coming from the employed pool.
You know what it's like?
And what would be the basis for that
bet?
I'm
just saying that I think the chances are that a lot of unemployed people who are very competent would come and apply for that job.
I tell you one thing, though, Ange. I can see why Mr. Obama weighed in on this. He needs right now all the help he can get to get the unemployment back on the employment rolls, and this is one way of doing it.
Well, yes, he does, of course, needs to get the unemployment down, but I think it was because he recognized what any sane person recognized, that this was wrong.
Yeah, this is politically blind, like most corporate America.
It's like the wedding. Have you ever heard of the wedding ring syndrome? It's where a cheesy guy says once he gets married, women start hitting on him. It's like that. It's like other employers see you have a job and go, well, if somebody else is hiring him, maybe he's not so bad. But the problem is there are so many good people who are unemployed right now. What are you doing, Bob?
I'm giving you your civil watch because it's the end of your employment today. And no, Eric's actually for Eric. I wanted you to know that I love you still, but well, you know.
Well, I love you too, but I'm trying to. Danny, you don't think it's okay to require someone to have a current employment when you?
You said you don't.
Look, I think it's rotten. And the thing is, I also think there should be a law against it. I just think it's dumb.
Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look at the lawmakers who are actually supporting a bill to ban this. We have Senator Richard Blumenthal, Senator Sherrod Brown, Senator Kristen Gillibrand of New York, Representative Rosa DeLauro, and Representative Henry Johnson, all Democrats, Bob. So any chance of this bill actually going anywhere?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. You give me the Republicans in the House of Representatives who votes against that bill, and I'll beat them next time around when they run. Nobody's going to go for that. That's political suicide.
But how do you decide if who's going to be the judge that decides that you were discriminated against because you were unemployed? I mean, unless they were applying for an ad with that grand
the ad's the dead giveaway.
The example I gave Eric, if you had people who came in that were equally or better qualified than somebody who was employed, that's discrimination.
But is that the right message, though, now that Congress and Washington is going after the job creators and the business owners?
Well, sure, they make the regulatory environment gets more and more difficult, and this is just another example of another rule, reg, or law.
Can we just point out
very quickly, guys, before we go, we haven't talked about tomorrow morning, the unemployment rate comes out. All estimates look like 9.1%, and the Office of Management and Budgets came out today saying, guess what? Expect north of 9% through 2012.
Okay,
it's a bad employment picture.
You want to have a bet whether it goes, where is it down?
9.1.
9.1. All right. You think it's 9.1?
Quick.
I think it'll stay above 9.
It's 900. It's 9.0.
I'll bet you it doesn't go below 9.
Well, expectations are so low, it'll be hard to disappoint.
All right. And we'll collect the money. Coming up, actor George Clooney admits to shelving a movie to help President Obama. We have those details next.
She's in a family full of eccentrics. She's done things I've never expected.